welcome to not a Molly's Mind. This is a chat with Corin, and it's only right. I've done chats with Molly's brother. I've done chats with Molly's father, Molly's sister,
and cousins.
her cousins.
No, those were on Molly's Mind.
Yeah, that was a Molly's Mind. But no, it's only right. I mean, you all know her. She's been on the channel for a while. I'm her biggest fan. Hopefully she's my biggest fan. But I've never done a chat with my wife, Molly. So I got stood up. Here's a little backstory. So I wasn't really ready to have a chat with Molly. I mean, we have chats pretty much every night and every day for like the last 11 years. But I got stood up on my original chat, Brendan. You guys will see him in a couple weeks. And it's very nice to have a very helpful fill-in here, Molly, and I wanted everybody to get to know her a little bit better because we do Molly's Mind, and you know she talks and expresses her opinions. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to do a chat with my wife. So this is my wife, Molly. You know her from Molly's Mind. I'll let her introduce herself and just say hi, and then we'll get into a little chat.
So obviously, I'm Molly. I have to just say that yes, I am filling in, like I'm a backup plan tonight, but you did like have a plan to have me on the chat anyways.
It was
so don't make me feel like a total like, oh, I just have to have her.
You're obviously very appreciated on the channel. You wouldn't have your own segment, but I don't know if
I was saying a while ago, and this isn't Molly's Mind, so I'm gonna try and not, but
hijack the show.
But I said it would be, and it's cool, like how you did a chat with Kyle, so people get to see him in a different way, and like you have me on your channel. Not that people care, but like
people care.
It just is cool to talk about versus like with Molly's Mind, we pick a topic, we talk about that topic, and like we've talked about growing up, things like that. But I thought it would be fun, and maybe you'll learn something about me that you don't already know.
I mean, I feel like I know a lot about you, but yeah, you're right. Maybe I'll learn something new tonight. But, people like you on the channel. They watch Molly's Mind. It gets good views. People engage with it. They ask a lot of questions. So it's good to hear a little bit of your backstory. And that'll bring me right into, like, my first type of question, I guess. It's just, like, I know you, obviously, since, I consider you young. When did we meet?
I was 19, and you were 20.
20, okay. So I know...
And now I'm 30 and you're 31.
Yes. So I know 19-year-old Molly, and I've seen certain type of progressions in your life. I've seen you grow, and you've seen me grow, and I've noticed little things that maybe we can get into later with some of your previous jobs and how your fashion changed and your attitude and demeanor might have, like, grown a little bit much. But tell everybody what, like, a young Molly was like. I mean, I spoke to Max, I spoke to Doreen, and they've expressed how many siblings you've had, but let's hear it from your perspective because I could jump in and I'll jump in at some points and tell you what I've heard from your siblings, but sort of let people know about what...
From my perspective?
Yeah, the youngest you can remember back. What was a young Molly like?
Oh, gosh. The farthest I remember back, I mean... as long as I can remember is like I'm one of 7 and I don't ever remember a time without having all of my siblings. So Max talked a little bit about that in his chat, Doreen as well in hers, on how our family kind of overnight grew. So my parents had 4 kids, and then we have they were cousins, were adopted, they're now my siblings, and I've never looked at it any other way. So I grew up sharing a room with my little sister Taryn. She's 5 months younger than me. And so for as long back as I can remember, Taryn and I shared a room. It wasn't until I was in high school that I got my own room. So growing up, I remember being kind of like the favorite of especially my dad's. And so I think I got a lot of resentment from my siblings for that.
She still hears it today.
Because I basically could get away with things that they couldn't get away with, or I just got to do some things that they didn't get to do. And so they would, when my parents would leave my older sister in charge, they would kind of like lock me in my room or, you know. But I mean, we've talked about before, we grew up as a karate family, so there was lots of like fighting, you know, and
so good
physical fighting. And like my little sister Taryn, she's younger than me, but like she could, like, she is like one of the she is, oh my gosh, and like even now she is like the fittest person I know.
Yeah.
I keep telling her to make a YouTube channel because like she's so healthy. She works out all the time. Like she can do crazy, insane.
Just
like,
the backstory. She like tore her
like,
ACL, right?
Yeah.
And like was still walking on it, recovered super quickly. I mean, like she's very
she's like
athletic.
Yeah, I mean, she's crazy. She's like super fit, super athletic, but she is like a top notch. Like if she were to go into a dojo right now and fight, like she would crush. Like she is just such a fit person. So anyways, we grew up sharing a room, so like it was always like this balancing act because like I'm not scared of anyone. Like I would like if I needed to defend myself, I would, but like I am terrified of my little sister. Like she can kick so hard and like hit so hard, so like it was just like this. We always fought, but like I would be like, ooh, let me not.
So let me ask you a question. Why do you think, out of all the children, why do you think that your siblings were under the impression, or maybe it was how it was, that you were like the favorite child or the spoiled one? What do you think it was about like, you that you were selected as that child?
A little like, not embarrassing to like admit it, but like it's a fact. Like, and that's like weird to say, like, but it was a fact. Like I was for sure my dad's favorite. I don't know, like I was like very small. I was like, you know, Taryn was always bigger than me in the sense like she was taller than me, like she was in a grade behind me. She was always like, just like in every sense, like her shoe size, her clothes size, like she was always just, I was just like very small for my age. Like my doctors never thought I would be over 5 feet. And it took me probably, I didn't even grow like over 5 feet until probably like junior or senior year of high school. Like I was very small in school. So I think it was like partly like Doreen is like 5'7". I'm 5'3" now, but like everybody was just so much bigger than me in like all scenarios. So I was like, who's a very small person.
Were you the youngest until Quincy came? Or are you
younger
than
Max? Taryn is younger than me.
Taryn's younger than you.
Yeah, Freddie, Doreen, Max, Odie, me, Taryn, Quincy.
So maybe like that, in a sense, maybe your parents looked at you as like the weakest because Taryn, they saw stronger.
I think it was like I was the weakest. Like in karate, I was the one who like they would pair me with like the other small like little you know kids, whereas like Taryn would go with like all the bigger kids because like she could like like for me fighting in karate, I know how to defend myself, but like I was not someone who like against other people at my belt, like I just, that wasn't me. I was much better in self-defense, which was like my thing, but fighting, like I was just always kind of like the little runt kid.
So I would see it as like to stay in your childhood, I would almost see it as like your parents knew that like all the other kids could maybe defend for themselves.
But don't get it twisted. Like if you look at my family, like I am the one, and
no, you're
that's
tough
like
for your
why
family.
My like, not just my family, like in general,
in
life.
Yeah, I know.
I think that's probably why my personality is like the way it is, like growing up in my family, because like I would say out of anyone in my family, I am the most like. You know what I'm saying. Like I just am like a no bullshit, type of person.
So let me ask, do you have, so since you said, you know, if your parents went out or something like that and, you know, there would be some resentment towards you from your siblings.
Yeah.
Can you remember anything specifically that like, would you be worried when your parents are like, oh, we're going out to dinner tonight. And then you're like, oh snap. Here comes Taryn, Odie,
No.
Max are going to like throw me under the couch or
No,
something
I
like
wasn't worried. It was more annoying because, like, they would lock me in the room, so, like, I couldn't get out. It wasn't like I was worried that they were going to injure me.
Not injured,
like,
but, like, where you're
yeah.
like, you knew it was coming. It was
No,
like, they're
I
going
mean-
out, time to team up on Molly.
Well, no, I hated when Doreen would babysit because I knew, like, they would, like, either, like, pick me up and carry me to my room and then, like, lock me in there or, like, things like that where they would lock me in my room so I couldn't get out. But it wasn't, and they always used to call me prima donna and just stuff like that. But I was never worried that they were going to, like, secretly beat me up or something. Yeah. They weren't, we fought, but it was
all in
it was
fun.
all like all siblings do. But I mean, when you have a karate background, it looks a little bit different than just wrestling.
Yes.
Especially when you know the self-defense moves, which when I'm talking self-defense, it's in karate, like a very stage type thing. So there's certain locks and a lot of similar to like wrestling locks and grappling and things like that. So they might put you in a lock that you have to like tap out of. That's very painful.
Yeah. So now on the flip side of that, you know, you would say that within your family walls, you guys were maybe fighting and like, you know, fending for yourself within your home. But something that, you know, I spoke about with Steph, if you haven't watched that, watch that. We learned a little bit about upstate New York, and I learned about this from your siblings. Outside of those walls, it was almost like, and something that's so important to you, family, is just like you guys almost had to stay together so so tight knit, because like everything around you, like you guys were pretty much like the only black family.
Yeah, but we talked about this in one of our early Molly's Mind about just kind of race and like where I grew up, and it wasn't something I really noticed growing up. Like I mentioned this in that other video, I've had the same best friend since literally as long as I can remember. I think first grade is when Amy, I'm talking about, first grade is when we first, and she's white, she comes, you know, from a well-off family, and it was never,
but
I mean, I never,
I didn't mean to say like race, but like I just meant more in a broader picture that like you guys were super close as a family outside of like your household. Like
but
you guys did everything together,
what's
parties,
really
and grew up.
interesting about that is we didn't go to the same schools, so in my family, so in did you know that?
I know Doreen went to an all-girls school.
But like in elementary
Oh,
school.
no, I didn't know that.
Wow, you're learning something new. So when I was in second grade, for me, that was my first time leaving public school. So we went to Victor schools. And actually before that, Doreen talked about this on her chat, was that she went to private school because they weren't teaching, remember, the reading.
Yeah, she was a
So they weren't doing it at Victor, so they we went to a private Catholic school. So Doreen went when she was in, I think, 5th grade to this Catholic school. And then it went so well for her that they wanted to send the rest of us to Catholic school. But
so she was the first to go, and you guys were still in public
and we were
schools.
still in public schools. So she went for her first year in Catholic school. And then when it was time, you know, my parents decided to pull all of us out of public school because they thought we would get a better education, and they wanted to send us to a private Catholic school. There was 4 of us, Max, Odie, me, and Taryn, and they couldn't, you know, they only take so many kids per class. Like each school, the school Taryn and I went to only had 2 classes per grade. Each class only has like 20 kids, so it's like 40 kids per grade. That's it. The school Max and Odie went to, they only have 1 class per grade, so it's like 20 kids. So like these are very small private, you know, Catholic schools. So they didn't have enough room for all of us to go to the same school. So Taryn and I went to one school. Odie and Max went to another school. And so we went to those schools I went for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And then I begged my parents to go back to public school because all of my friends were there. I did sports through public school. The commute to school was so long. But everybody else stayed longer. Odie and Max actually went all the way through junior high. Taryn went through like 6th grade. And then Quincy also when he went to school, he went to the same one the boys went to. So we didn't even go to the same schools for like, well, I didn't go to the same school until Odie until 8th grade. And Max didn't come back to public school till 9th grade.
Wow.
So it was like we weren't even in the same schools, which is like kind of weird. I mean, you have that experience too, like being in different districts, but we were much closer in age. So Max was 1 grade in front of me, Odie was my year, and Taryn was a grade younger than me. So all of us being just like very close years, not being in the same school was like a very interesting thing.
So did you have any closer relationships with, like, because you said you went to school with Doreen?
I went to school with Taryn.
Oh, with Taryn. So like, and I almost see it as like...
Taryn and I shared a room, so it was like... But I was very
like,
close.
did you have different stories when you would come home from school? Like, would she be talking about something that happened in school or a guy, and you talk about stuff that happened in your school?
I mean, you're so young at that age that you're not into guys. Like, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade.
Yeah, not guys, but like... I mean, I feel like school is a place where, like, you know...
It is, but, like, even when you get to high school, you have different teachers, and you... I don't know, it was an interesting experience, but we did have... You know, going back to, like, me being the favorite child, just to give you, like, a small snapshot of a little bit of me. Like, I have kind of, like, frizzy curly hair now. I wear contacts or glasses. I got glasses in 2nd or 3rd grade. So, as a kid, wearing that, having just, like, frizzy hair, I remember my first week at Catholic school, no one would, like, hang out with me. Like, it was really hard to make new friends. So, my teacher said... Right before recess, she, like, made an announcement to the class that was, like, people need to play with Molly. And it was, like, so embarrassing to have that. But I did make some really good friends at Catholic school that I'm still friendly-ish with today. Because it was, like, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. But what I was getting to is, so we went to different schools, but the way the buses worked is the bus picked us all up. It was the public school bus, the Victor bus. Then that bus drives you... to Victor schools, drops off all the kids who are going to Victor. Then they go to another location where kids from different areas all go onto these buses, and then you switch buses depending what school you're going to.
Wow.
So I was on the same bus. Yeah, it was like really intense. So I was on the same bus with my siblings for a lot of the time. And then once we went to the same school, my brothers got off, Taryn and I stayed on. But then coming home, there was this kid who used to ride the bus. He was like in 7th grade, and I was in 3rd grade. He used to make fun of me every single day. And, like, my siblings were always, like, you know, stand up for me and stuff. But one day we get on the bus, and our bus driver, Bob Zink, greatest bus driver ever, was like, everybody sit down and face forward. And we're all like, we're like, what is that smell? And, like, me and my siblings are all in the first 2 rows. We're, like, trying to peek back. We're like, what is that smell? We get to this guy's house, and they open, you know that back door on the bus that they never open?
Yeah.
They open the back door, and he's literally scooping poop. He pooped his pants. The kid who made fun of me every day, scooping his poop into a bag.
Ew.
Literally, like, we're, like, peeking back, and he never showed up.
So he got his karma.
Exactly. He never rode the bus again.
Do you ever see that kid on Facebook or anything?
No, I don't even remember that kid's name, because he didn't go to the same school as us. Oh. He was in 7th grade. So it was, like, all these different Catholic private schools that rode these buses. Mm-hmm. So you didn't go to the same schools as everybody, but it was just, like, that's what you get for making fun of, like, the young, like,
well, I would take it as a
poofy
compliment, because, like, I think I see it now as a parent, like, when you see, like, a kid picking on a girl or something like that, it usually means that they like you, so I would take it as, like...
Or it's, like...
I don't think guys just want to bully a person. There's a reason for it.
There's also people who are just bullies.
Yeah, but there's something more to it, you know? Like
okay, if you have a 7th grader and a 3rd grader, that's a big age difference at that age.
We'll do a Molly's Mind on bullying, okay?
Okay.
But to go back to, like, the whole, like, going to a Catholic school, did, like, religion play any type of role on you as a kid? Like, did you have to do certain type of classes? Did you guys go to church as a family?
Yeah.
I know when we went back for a wedding, there's differences between, like, different types of Catholic and Christian. Yeah. Just... talk about, like, religion, because I didn't get into any of this with your siblings, so for you going to a Catholic school, I should have asked Doreen too.
Yeah.
Did that really take any effect on you as a kid?
It's so interesting because, like, going into Catholic school, I think you actually start midterms and finals in 3rd grade. So we took religion as a class, and you also go to church Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. So you go to church at school on Tuesday, Thursday, and then we would go as a family every Sunday. We would go for all the holidays, like we would go Christmas Eve, Easter, Palm Sunday, like everything. And growing up, we always went to church, but we went to a non-denominational church because my mom grew up, oh gosh, I'm going to get this wrong. I don't remember. Maybe Protestant. My dad grew up Episcopal. So my dad grew up Episcopalian. So that's just what we were told we were. So when we went to a Catholic school, we never took communion. So communion, you go up, you get the cracker thing, and you get the wine.
Do you know what that like symbolizes? Like, what are you doing?
The body and the blood.
Oh, okay.
I if I get this wrong, I apologize. I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
But I took religion exams and studied religion at school, and I know like nothing about it. I think there's so many things in my life, and I think anyone who knows me really well knows I have like a really good specific memory, but in general there's so many things I don't remember because I think I blocked it out. And religion is one of those things that I actually don't remember very much about it. And what I learned in religion, I don't remember, but I do remember a lot of the prayers just because you repeat them so much. Growing up, we held hands as a family every single dinner. We said, our grace, bless us, O Lord, in these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord, amen. We said that every single night before dinner, and we held hands, and that was like what we did. And religion, I would say, was like a big part of our life. I was in church choir, believe it or not. I actually had a solo. Did you know that?
No.
I had a solo in church.
I can't imagine that going too well, knowing your singing voice.
I am a terrible singer. I'm terrible, but like when I was younger, I did. I was in choir and I had a solo, but now I'm like the worst singer ever. But yeah, I don't know. It was actually a really big part of my life. But then I'm actually really thankful that my parents gave us a background in religion, because some, my cousins, they never went to church or anything like that, and it allowed me to then reflect back on that, because once we got to high school and started working on the weekends and couldn't go to church anymore, and our parents then gave us the choice, like, you can continue going to church if you want, you don't have to go to church if you don't want. And it was like, I decided I didn't want to continue going to church because it wasn't something that, I felt I needed to do. But I think it's good to have a background. I feel strongly that, when we got married and I wanted to learn more about Judaism because that was your religion and I had no set intentions whether I was going to convert or not convert, I wanted to learn about it. And what I really liked, a lot of the kind of just philosophies with it, I felt
connection to it.
Yeah, and then I feel very strongly that I want our daughter to have a background in that, not just on the holidays. I feel very strongly that when she's older, she'll go to Hebrew school and she'll learn about it, and then she can make her own decision, much like you did, as well, if she wants to continue or not, and then she can decide what she, if that's her religion or not. But that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, I think you have a good base from, I don't know your mother's religion,
it was in the church.
No, but like her thoughts on it too much more so than I know your father's.
Yeah.
Who, obviously grew up, whatever you said, Episcopal, and then still
Buddhism,
did his own exploring. So like it's good that you could see that, as a child, that like he was still exploring, he still is exploring.
Well, no, he wasn't openly Buddhist in our house growing up. It wasn't. I didn't know my dad was Buddhist until I was in college.
Yeah, but like your decision to convert to Judaism, like he was very open to it and supportive and stuff like that. Like the fact that they gave you an option, I guess, to explore religion at a young age and not really force it upon you too much. It sounds like when you were in high school, they maybe let you drop off.
No, it was definitely forced as a kid.
Oh.
Yeah, as a kid, like, we went to Catholic school, we went to church 3 times a week. Like, not going to Sunday church wasn't an option. Like, it was definitely forced. And I would say, just in general, there were a lot of things my parents forced on us as kids. Karate. Yeah. Religion, and going to church. And just... like,
now I know you're gonna take some heat from your dad on that, just like them forcing stuff on you.
They'll agree with that.
And do you think that's that was a good thing or a bad thing? Like for certain things,
I think it was a very positive thing. In the moment, I was very resentful of my parents for not so much the church thing. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like whatever.
I know you mentioned karate a lot as something that like
karate-
they said if you start it, you have to finish it.
Well, I didn't have a choice to start karate. Like, I started karate when I was 3. It wasn't like, hey, Molly, at 3 years old. Like, at 3 years old, you don't know up from down.
Yeah.
And so my parents, you know, were like, you're going. And at first it was like, great. And then I got to a point where we did karate so much. We traveled every weekend all around the country for competing. And it just took away from, I wanted to play soccer. I wanted to do cheerleading with my friends. And I wanted to do other things. I wanted to do gymnastics. And karate was so time consuming. We went like at least 3 to 4 days a week, if not 5. And it was an hour away. So you drive an hour there. We were all in different classes, and then you drive an hour home. So it's like your whole evening on weeknights and stuff. And then on the weekends we would travel. So like I just felt like I would miss things that I wanted to be at. Looking back on it, I'm so thankful. That's probably something I'm the most proud of that I've accomplished in my life, is getting my black belt. And but in the moment, I'm sure my parents probably had the conversation, do we let her quit, do we not? They would let me quit for like a week and then be like, okay, you're going back. So it was never like a long-term thing. It took me a long time to get my black belt. I didn't get it until I was like 14. So, and I never quit for longer than a week. So it was mostly just, I would go, I would get in trouble. I'd have to, you know, do push-ups, run laps. Karate is just, if you have a good instructor, like my parents let our instructor discipline us and not like spank us or anything like that, but like if we were misbehaving, he'd be like, drop and give me 50. Like, those aren't good push-ups. Keep going, you know, squat thrusts, run laps, whatever, like calisthenics, whatever punishment, like physical punishment. But I think that is probably one of the biggest reasons like I am who I am today. So I'm very thankful, but I would say my parents forced me. I would strongly say that I was forced into staying karate, but I'm very happy. So I feel very strongly for our daughter that I will do the same.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean, so you mentioned karate. What other, because I know college, you know, we'll get into college, but in high school and as a kid, what other sports or activities did you do?
We did everything. Like, and just like we do with Nick's, like, our parents put us in everything and then kind of let us pick what we liked, because karate was such a, like, that's not an option. We got to pick other things. So I did tap, I did ballet, and then I did gymnastics from a very young age, which I loved. And then soccer. I played soccer up until 9th grade. And then I did cheerleading.
Yeah, so I'll stop you there. So I know you've got strong feelings on cheerleading, because I think you openly say to people that you wouldn't want our daughter cheerleading.
Yeah.
What?
Although I did it from as long as I can remember through till I was a sophomore in college.
So what made you change your mind on cheerleading? Why do you have such like strong feelings? So
there's 2 types of cheerleadings, which when I was growing up through cheerleading, they didn't have the kind of cheerleading that I'm going to mention today, which is the kind that Taryn coaches, which is like super competitive, super athletic. Like, these people, the things that they do is like mind-blowing. Like, when we go watch her in Florida and like what she does, oh my gosh, it's nuts. Like, that is like a sport. Okay, high school cheerleading, and I don't want to offend anyone, I was a cheerleader doing this all through high school into my freshman year of college. Standing on the sidelines cheering for other sports is just like,
mainly guys.
No, my high school, my senior year, we started cheering for girls basketball too.
Oh, that's cool, at least.
But it's just like, meh.
Yeah.
You know, which like, if Nick's was really like, I really want to cheer, I would never be like, you can't. I'm not going to allow you to do it. But that's not something that I want to like actively put her in. So there's other sports, like we want her to do soccer and basketball and gymnastics and swimming and tennis and like, you know, put her in all these things so she can try it out. But I don't want to like put her in like Pop Warner cheerleading.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean,
if she wanted to do it, like, I would never be like, no, but that's just not something I actively want to pursue as her parents.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's cool to hear that your high school had the cheerleaders out at women's games also, because all I've ever known growing up is just usually just girls with pom-poms at like a varsity football game or like the high school basketball game. Yeah. And it's just, you know, adds to that whole Me Too-y movement or whatever, where it's just like you're celebrating these guys, you know.
But
whereas,
I will
like,
say,
why is there a group
I mean,
of...
we did, like, we traveled to Florida for nationals, and we traveled to competitions, and the routines that you do in cheerleading, like, that is, like, you know, flipping and lifting people up, and I was a flyer, so being able to, like, you know, lift my leg above my head and, like, then flip out of that, and, like, that's very, you have to be athletic to do that, and I think all of the, like, doing karate, which is very athletic, and I can link a video of my karate videos if people can see me, like, screaming my head off in karate. And then, like, I did gymnastics for a long time as well. So, like, I think that all these sports kind of, like, helped me be better at other sports. And I don't know, like, in high school, so I was on varsity cheerleading all through high school, and then I played lacrosse, and I played lacrosse. Before I transferred to Cortland, I did lacrosse and cheerleading at Keuka College, which I went to Keuka to play lacrosse, and I loved lacrosse. I played center, for anyone who knows it. I did the face-off, and usually it's, like, someone really tall, but I just, like, was, like, get down and dirty. I loved lacrosse. I carried my lacrosse sticks in my trunk, like, up until, like, 2 years ago, because I was like, oh, I could just, like, get out and play wall ball somewhere, but they're not in my car anymore. But I love.
They used to be in her car,
Yeah, they're just in our garage now, but I loved lacrosse so much, and I really regret not playing at Cortland, but I was like, oh, it's, like, a new school. I had played, you know, from junior high into freshman year, and I just stopped playing, and I wish I never did, but lacrosse was like my all-time favorite sport. Out of all the sports I played, lacrosse was, like, hands down my favorite.
So staying on sports, and maybe there's two different answers between karate and, like, lacrosse and all your other sports that you played together. I want to know karate specifically first. Like, what was one of your greatest thrills or experiences that happened within karate that you were like, that's pretty cool?
So,
because I have one. It's just like watching a YouTube video of you, like, punching a girl in the head. I'm like, that's really cool.
After I got my black belt in karate, which was maybe like it was either 8th or 9th grade, somewhere, I think it was 14, whenever you're 14. I kind of stopped, because then it was like I was in high school, like, cheerleading and lacrosse took up a lot of my time, and other high school things you do. So I kind of stopped. We would go here and there, but sophomore year or junior year of college, when Max talked about this, I was like, Max was still doing it, and he's never stopped. I was like, you know what? I want to get out there and compete again. So, like, I hadn't done karate, like, really done karate in years, and I was like, we lived together at the time, and we would practice, like, in our living room, making up these self-defense routines, and we went out and we competed, and that's the video I can link, and that was the same tournament with the moment you're talking about, where I hit that girl. So for that tournament, I qualified in fighting and in self-defense, and it was just, like, very memorable to come back. But, I mean, there's so many moments in karate where I remember just, like, losing and, like, just getting beat so bad and fighting and just, like, crying, and my dad being like, you know.
But that makes you stronger.
You know, it's just better. Like, all these experiences. And I look back at pictures of Hanshi, who's, like, on the sidelines, like, you know, stop crying, and just, like, you know, your biggest cheerleader. And then also probably one of the biggest and proudest moments is the day I got my black belt, which, I remember Odie getting his black belt. When you get your black belt, you have to fight all the senseis in the school. You're a sensei if you're a black belt. So everybody who's a black belt, you have to fight them. And you kind of, like, go from, like, the easiest to, like, the hardest to, like, the most degreed black belt. And I remember
it's like Odie, a video game where, like, Super Mario has to defeat all the
and that's
bosses.
Like, once you and, you know, they're not, like, beating on
Yeah,
you,
yeah, of course.
But it's just kind of like you're going,
You're earning your stripes. Yeah.
And I remember Odie getting his black belt, and they're literally like holding him, like, you know, which I remember a very similar experience for me too. And like it's just such a like proud moment when you go through this ceremony and like actually get your belt.
I'm sure.
I actually remember that as the first time I met Freddie's wife Liz was when Taryn and I got our black belts. She was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was the first time we met her.
Something I want to ask you that I see from, you know, watching the videos and like, I know your whole family, but I think Max is just a great guy. I think he's got a great heart. I think he's a great dude overall. If you haven't watched his chat, watch it. I'm even tearing up a little bit, even saying it. But something that I admire that which is memorable for me, and I wasn't even a part of it, was like, and this is something that I see in NFL or MLB, and I've never really done it with my siblings, but like when you compete with your siblings, like I played on a rec soccer league one time with Jed and Davina, and it was just like the greatest feeling ever, just passing it to Jed and knowing that like he's on the same field as me, or watching like JJ Watt and his brother TJ Watt play together. So like, how like did you even like realize the moment, like every time you're training with Max, or like I watched the YouTube video of him just like being your dummy, of like you breaking his arm and him like tapping out, like how was that moment of just competing with your siblings and like fighting with them in the ring? Do you realize that? Do you look back at it now and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool? And like,
I
what
do.
was that like?
I think that's part of the reason, like my siblings, obviously I don't live near any of them, but I think karate is one of the reasons we are all, my family in general is really close. I think we got this experience, not only just physically competing, but the traveling we did together. And that's why I feel so strongly for us that we travel with Nix and build those, because I have so many memories with my family just traveling, and like a lot of that is like actually physically in the car on a road trip, and you guys have that too in your family, taking your road trips to Florida and being in the car for 24 hours, and it's things that, you know,
I feel like competing is just a different...
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, even just getting there, those are building experiences. Because when you're in your house, you can all be in 3 different rooms, and you can all be off doing other things. Whereas when you're in the car, you're literally sleeping on each other. You're, like, feet are in their face. Like, you know what I mean? But, yes, competing together, it's, like, amazing to have, you know... When you
like
cheer
he knows
on
what you're
somebody,
feeling when you win, because he was a part of it, you know?
But also, like, when you cheer on, like, I'll never forget Max's first Super Grand title. He was, like, I don't know, he was young, and, like, we watched him on the stage at night, like, in the lights, and it's just, like, such a great feeling to watch somebody who's trained so hard for something win something. And I'm sure that's the same for anyone, like a parent who has a kid out there, or... you know, in anything, like when Nix walks on the balance beam at gymnastics and you're like so proud of her. It's like just really a great experience to do those things with your family and to have your family there. So I feel really lucky that we did that as a family, because a lot of other sports, you don't get that opportunity because the age differences. You don't get the opportunity to physically be on the stage with somebody else or in the ring with somebody else. Whereas in karate, I used to have to compete against Taryn all the time, and I hated it because she hits so hard. But yeah, it was like, I'm so thankful.
Yeah, that's one thing, like I said, that I watched that, and it's just, if anyone watching has ever competed with a sibling, like, you know, with the referee on the field or like on the same stage, even for, you know, a chorus recital or something like that, it's just cool to look over and see someone, you know, that is just, you know, what they're going through also, you know, you've grown up with them, and it's just a cool experience. So I think that was pretty cool watching that when you were competing in all your competitions. Another thing, staying a little bit younger, you and Amy, your best friend, have this little fascination towards dolphins for whatever reason, and one profession that I guess you guys wanted to have, or you particularly, I won't talk for her, was you wanted to be a dolphin trainer.
Yeah.
Where did the fascination for dolphins come from as a kid?
I don't know when it started.
I don't even know if it is a fascination.
No, I've always been obsessed with dolphins.
Okay.
I've always wanted, like, that was always my dream career, was to be a dolphin trainer. And growing up, we lived really close to Canada, so we used to drive to Marineland. Niagara Falls, Ontario. Marineland is the place to go. I'm not going to sing the tune, but...
And Swiss Chalet, which is a couple left.
Yes, I loved Swiss Chalet, but it's not good anymore. Don't go there.
Yeah.
But back in the day, it was good.
We're not sponsored by Swiss Chalet.
So growing up, we would go to Marineland, and they had a dolphin, and they also had beluga whales. And I remember it was like my 10th birthday, and we went to Marineland, and they picked someone to come from the audience to pet the dolphin, to feed the dolphin, and then like pet the dolphin. And my whole family was there, and they're all like, "It's her birthday!" And I got to like go up and pet the dolphin. But even before that, Amy and I went to Girl Scout camp, and part of it was we went to an aquarium on like a field trip, and they had like dolphins there, and it was just, I don't know, we both were just obsessed with dolphins. So because we were obsessed with dolphins, we loved the Miami Dolphins. So then we would get those starter jackets,
I've seen pictures.
And so I had the old school one, and then I got like you remember when they came out with like newer ones?
I think so, yeah.
So all the regular girls are wearing like nice coats, and we're wearing like our starter jackets.
There's a picture of Amy that I know of her wearing like a Dallas Cowboys one.
Yeah,
or something
because Randy was like a big Dallas Cowboys
Yeah.
fan. So, but we would wear our starter jackets. Like, we were just obsessed with dolphins. So, I don't know. I'm obviously not a dolphin trainer. I wish. I originally wanted to go to Stony Brook for college to go for marine biology, but I didn't.
Yeah. So in my Goodwill endeavors, I've come across a tiny Dan Marino Dolphins jersey, which I bought for Nick's, and then while going back, I found a adult-sized Dan Marino jersey for myself. So I have to find one more for Molly, and then I'm a Jets fan, which they're rival from the Dolphins, but I got them because she's a Dolphins fan. Just quickly, one more on the child question, because Quincy hasn't gotten any love in this episode yet. Do you think you were a little harsher on Quincy because he was the youngest, and like you took out maybe some?
No. So Quincy, I was like 9 when Quincy was born. And what's so interesting about Amy and me, and so I've mentioned before, Amy and I became friends in first grade. But what's really interesting is before we moved to the house that you knew where I grew up in, we lived in a different house in Canandaigua. And Amy lived down the road. And this was like, I moved to Farmington when I was like 3. So even before that, Amy lived down the road, so my family knew her family. And Amy and my mom both had their first kid same year, Randy and Doreen. They both had their second kid a month apart, Max and Corey. They both had their third kid like 5 months apart, Amy and me. They both had their fourth kid 9 years later. 7 days apart, Renee and Quincy. So their first 4 kids were all born in the same year, and it went... The first 2 were the opposite sex. The second 2, same sex, opposite sex.
That's wild.
So it was just like a wild thing. So we move, then they move, and Corey and Max end up being in the same class. Doreen and Randy end up in the same class. Amy and I end up in the same class. So it was like our paths, like Amy and I, our parents, we used to tell people Amy was born and then she waited at the hospital for me to be born, even though we weren't even born in the same hospital. But, so our paths crossed when we were like babies. We obviously didn't know each other, and then we were in the same first grade class. And I don't even remember.
This has to do with Quincy. How?
Yeah, okay. This has to do with Quincy because when my mom got pregnant with Quincy, I wanted her to have a little girl so bad. Amy's mom also was, because they were due like 6 days apart, got pregnant, and she had a little girl, and I was so jealous because
So that's why you're mean to
Renee,
Quincy or so
got,
hard
no,
on Quincy?
But
You're not mean to Quincy.
Growing
but that's
up, I mean, Quincy, like, we all were, you know, like...
Yeah, it's tough love for the younger
No,
brother.
but we were all old enough. I mean, we would give him tough love because he'd be a little baby. Like, he would cry over everything, but, like, he's a little kid.
Yeah.
But he would cry, like, at karate. He'd be, like, in the corner, like, hysterically crying. But, like, that was me, too, at that age. But, no, I remember, you know, we always would come back and take him out to dinner. And, you know, even now, like, we will do things for him. But at the same time... like, where he is now, it's like you want the best for your little brother, and you have to kind of, like, I'm just a type of, like, I'm a very real person, in the way I talk to people. Like, I will give you my genuine advice,
Yeah.
and whether that's good or bad, but
So maybe
I
you have a little
personally
bit more
think-
love towards that teacher who sat everybody down and said out loud, like, everybody stop picking on Molly. Because that's something you would do.
You
when
should
you
at least
said
tell
that.
me to leave the room.
No,
that's embarrassing,
not really. I
in
mean, you
my
put
opinion.
people on blast.
Not when you're, like, in 3rd grade and brand new. That's, like, a pity invite. But I think in my life, I've been through a lot of, from my perspective, I've been through some challenging things. Like, I went to 4 different colleges for reasons I don't want to share. And, like, coming back from that and, you know, being on Dean's List, like, multiple years in a row, I think, and then kind of, like, to where I am now, I think, I don't know, like, I didn't even, like, get into a lot of colleges right out of high school. Like, I didn't even think about college in high school. I just didn't even, like, it, like, wasn't even a thought to me to college. I was like, oh, what's after high school? I have no idea. I don't know. So I just feel like,
So your final decision let's jump to college. Your final decision to go to Cortland after QCO, where you played lacrosse. You go to Cortland and things are going along.
Yeah, but back up, like, when I was a senior in high school, I didn't even take SATs until January of my senior year.
Yeah, I think that's about right with me
No.
too. Oh.
Well,
I was
maybe
in,
for
like-
you, but we were probably in the same place because, or I think I took them, like, no, I think I first took them in, like, November, and I did terrible, and then I was going to retake them, but then I got into, like, Alfred State or something, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to go there. But then I was recruited to play lacrosse at QCO, which was perfect because it was just, like, a small school, but then I decided when I was there, I was like, this school is way too small. Feels like high school. I met some really great people that I'm still really good friends with today, but I was like, this just isn't, like, college. It's not what I want. So then transferred to Cortland and met you, like, a month into being there.
So what was your experience at Cortland like? I mean, like, so you said in high school that you weren't really thinking about college and, like, the whole thing. When in college, because you said you were on Dean's List, like, and, you know...
I was on Dean's List freshman year.
Yeah, I know, but, like, you said you had ups and downs with colleges. Like, when
Yeah.
in college did you really maybe start to figure out that, like, all right, I have to do well, or I have to figure things out?
Every single semester in all of my college, except for one semester, my very first semester at Cortland, I had, like, 3.7, 3.5, 3.8, like, very, like, all A's type GPA.
Mm-hmm.
But my very first semester at Cortland, I pledged a sorority.
What was the reason
at
for
that
pledging a
point,
sorority?
Just, at first I was playing lacrosse, and then, like, there were some girls who were in a sorority, and it was, like, kind of just, like, what everyone, I transferred, so everybody already kind of had friends, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was actually a bio major. Did you know that?
Yeah, I think so.
I was a bio major, and because I wanted to maybe be a marine biologist, and I was in zoology, and I was in chemistry, and I was in French, and I was in a couple other classes, but I just, like, stopped going to chemistry and bio, and those are 4-credit classes, and it was just, like, I don't know. I don't even know. I just, like, was like, oh yeah, I don't know. So then the next semester I didn't go back to Cortland. I just went to the local community college, and I had to, like, really focus on school, and I started playing lacrosse at the community college, but because of how many credits I had, this whole thing, like, I couldn't play, and it was like, I was so upset. So I then was, like, determined to get back to Cortland, and I did. So I just went
Was
home.
that because I was there?
No, it was, like, because I was really focused
You could
on,
just
like...
say you wanted to get back there because I was there.
No.
Okay.
But I had met Corin, and I would go to Cortland, and I would visit Corin.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I was just really determined to like, get, like, it was, like, a wake-up call for me. Like, I was like, what am I even doing with life? And so it was fine, and that was the only semester I ever like got below like a 3.5, but mostly I always had like A's. Like I was, you know, I'm not the type of person who is like Max is the type of person who could like not study and do really well. Like I'm the type of person I have to study. I have to like I don't have the type of memory that I can read something and like remember it. So I just put in a lot of work at school, and you know, I still was in a sorority, but once I went back to Cortland, I had a lot more focus on school. And then like senior year is just like I would work, I would go to school, I would like sometimes go out like with my friends, but I was very focused on like what's next.
So, a lot of the times I don't have like too much background on like the people that I'm chatting with, but like for you, I do. So some of the odd jobs that you had in college are pretty interesting. So, you were a bartender.
Yeah, that's not that odd for a college.
But the next one I'm gonna say is an odd job. You were a parking ticket person or whatever.
I gave out parking tickets.
She gave out parking tickets. So if you are watching from Cortland and you ever got a ticket, it probably came from her.
Yes, but if you came out and you were really nice to me, I would I would take the ticket away and I'd be like, I'll go inside and get it erased. If you came out and you were nasty to me, I was like, I'm gonna give you this ticket and I will give you another one.
So what was that experience like giving tickets? Because
you know what?
Everybody, I mean, I have vivid memories of you driving around in a little golf cart.
Part of that job was the gem car that I drove around. It was like
a little Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah, it was like a
tiny.
rounded like one-seater like so embarrassing car. But I used to like pick you up on the hill because we lived like off Julia.
She had this bright like neon jacket that she had to wear, and she had a pink jacket that she wore underneath it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was fun. But you would tell me stories of like when you were bartending, and there'd be regulars in there, and they'd ask for these crazy drinks, and like I remember you studying on note cards all the drinks, but like. And I'm sure if anyone's ever bartended out there, you got to know all these drinks, but someone will come in with their favorite drink that you don't know what it is.
Well, and because in a college town, like, people are asking for, like...
like...
crazy shots.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes I would just, like, mix some things together and be like, here you go, you know?
Yeah.
And then it would be bad when someone would get a little bit drunk and then be like, you gave me a parking ticket. And I'm like, oh God.
That's even worse.
Because I worked... Yeah, and I saved all my money so that I could move to New York. And it was like... I worked a lot, like, and I also, while I was bartending, I was giving out parking tickets. I also was, I did internships at the Department of Social Justice, the Department, not of Social Justice, I don't know,
it was something
for social work. I can't remember the name of it, but I would go on social work cases in the local town. I would go on house calls and I would type up all the notes, and it was like, at that point, my major was criminology, and I was interning there, and I also would go to a juvenile detention center, and I would, we would just do activities with the kids in there, and some of them were in there for really bad things. They couldn't tell us specifically who was in there for what, but we would go there and just spend times with the kids, and then I did also the social work, interning, where I would just type up stuff, and the house calls I went on.
I forgot that was even a part of, like, your experience in college, because, like, does that still come into play? I mean, like, when you did that, because the town we went to college in, Cortland, New York, I mean, like, it's a tough town. I mean, there's, like, some beat-down houses, and, like, I'm sure if they were to look up the income levels or whatever in Cortland, they're probably not too high. But people get by. It's still a great town, but a lot of it depends on the school. So like these houses you were going into were people that didn't really attend the college. So like
no, they were
they were townies. I don't know if that's the right term or not, but like coming from where you were in Victor, which some areas were pretty affluent, like what was that experience?
But there's also in Victor like
there's poverty and stuff too.
In Victor there's like trailer parks.
But like what was that like, and do you take any of that with you today, knowing some of the stuff you saw back then?
Not really. No. I forget that I did that. Not that it's like, and I mean, my mom grew up in the projects in the Bronx. And so I think my parents, my mom and my dad, worked really hard to give us the life that they gave us. My dad owned his own business, in the car business, and I grew up, I had a really great childhood. We did a lot of different things. We traveled a lot, we did a lot of sports, great stuff. But I also have always worked my whole life. I got, just like you, like I got my first job at 14. I worked in college. I worked freshman year. I worked in the weight room. I checked everybody into the weight room. And then when I got to Cortland, I started giving parking tickets. I was a bartender. I did all those internships. And then as soon as I left college, I worked. I've never not worked since I was 14. So like I've always worked really hard for everything that I have. And I know my parents also worked every for everything, but I've always like, I don't feel like, I don't remember where this was going.
Just the social works and going into those houses.
Yeah,
and, like,
I don't like carry that with me. I saw some pretty messed up stuff. I am shocked that I was allowed to do that. Like some of the things I saw were like, a dad took all of the doors off in the house. He had a teenage daughter, no shower door. So she had to shower with no door. She had to change in her room with no door. And just like listening to this girl talk about, like seeing these things that like, I can't believe they let an intern go and I would just type all the notes. But just some really, really crazy things. But
I mean, that's usually who hears the nitty gritty of like a company or something like that. Yeah, but you would think
you'd have to like officially have a job to do that. I don't know. But so that was crazy, but that's how I knew I didn't want to go into social work, because originally that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go get my master's in social work, but I was just like, oh my gosh. So I knew I didn't want to do that, but I didn't know what I wanted to do after college. So that was like kind of hard, not knowing what I wanted to do. And I was always so jealous of you because you knew what you wanted to do. You knew you wanted to work in sports and something with sports. And I was like, I had always wanted to be a marine biologist, but like I just like the science, as much as like science as that is, it's like I'm not a science person, so like I had a really hard time figuring out what it is I wanted to do, and I'm lucky that I got there. But yeah, I don't know, that was hard.
So taking it back to the beginning of college real quick, and then we'll fast forward to when you graduated college. But you did have both of your dogs in college with you.
Oh my gosh!
Shout out to Bella and Charlie, who are still with us. No, I only had
freshman year. I had Bella. Oh. She lived in my dorm room.
Bella's our crazy dog. We have 3.
So Bella, so I already had Charlie. So Amy got me Charlie as a birthday gift. She said he was a Yorkie, and he's definitely not a Yorkie, which she didn't know that at the time. And he was like an injured, I don't know where she got him, but he had a hernia, had just had a surgery. So he was like this big. Oh. He was like teeny tiny, could fit in our palm. She gave him to me for Christmas, and then that's like February, March, we got Bella, and I wanted Charlie to have a friend, but Charlie was at home, and Bella, my dad didn't know we got him, so she lived in my dorm room for a couple of months, and like when I would go to class, like my friends would come watch her, and yeah, she was, and then when my dad found out, he was like, bring that dog home, I don't want you getting kicked out of school. So then, we've had Bella ever since, and I will say, like, I've had a dog my whole life. We've had Shepherd, German Shepherd, all different kind of rescue dogs. Like, we don't know what kinds they were because we got them from different shelters and stuff, but we've always had dogs, and Bella is my favorite dog I've ever had. She's just like, she wants all the attention all the time. She's like in your face, but like she's just such a loving dog, and it's so sad because she's getting old. And she can't really walk up the stairs at night anymore. A lot of nights we have to carry her up.
Yeah, and I've never been a dog person, and like being with Molly, we've had Bella and Charlie, and they've grown on me. So it'll be sad one day once they're no longer here.
If they, if one goes before the other, because they only had a couple months apart, where they didn't have each other, and they are now. I got Charlie in 2007, the end of 2007, and Bella at the beginning of 2008. So 12, Charlie's 12.
Yeah.
Is that math right? I'm terrible at math.
Well, regardless of that, shout out to Bella and Charlie. So you graduate college, and then you make the decision to move to New York City. What went into that decision?
So I always knew I never wanted to move back home. So I love where, I loved growing up with my family. My cousins lived like down the road, like awesome. But I always knew I never wanted to move back there. So I basically went to college and like would come home, in the summers and in the winter and stuff. But I left home really at 17 and I've never moved back. And so I knew after college, Doreen had moved, when she graduated, she had moved to Queens, lived in Brooklyn, and then she was living in Harlem, and I was like, let's get an apartment together. So she found an apartment for us in Harlem.
Did it make it easier for you seeing that she moved down to the city and sort of, made it down there?
Yeah, but she moved in and was living like rent-free. Not rent-free, but she was living very inexpensively because she lived with family.
Okay.
She gave them money, but it was like,
yeah,
not a lot. Whereas like I moved in and we like got an apartment. So it was like going from being a college student to like paying like $700 a month each. So I was working a lot, saving all of my money so I could afford to move and afford payments and things like that. So when I moved, I got a job at Nordstrom. So our sister-in-law Tiffany helped me get a job at Nordstrom, and I was just selling clothes, and I was like trying to figure out like what I wanted to do, and because I knew I wanted to get my master's, but I didn't want to go to school and not know what to get it in.
Yeah.
So I was working at Nordstrom, selling clothes, then I was an assistant manager there, and then I got into HR there. And when I got into HR there at first, it was part-time. And I remember that being a really difficult decision because I would only be working 3 days a week. But I was like, I really think I would like HR, but I won't be making a lot of money. So then I had to get like another part-time job, so I nannied the other days a week.
Yeah.
That was a whole interesting story that I'm not going to get into.
Well, no, you can get into it briefly. I mean, like, it just goes to show that, I mean, like, one of the experiences you had was you had been nannying for a while, and then you had told the family
It wasn't that long, because I started my HR job in June, and I started nannying at the same time. In August, the full-time person left. She got an HR job with NBC, so the full-time HR position opened, and they were like, do you want to be full-time? And I was like, yes, please. So I had to tell the family I was nannying for. I gave them like 3 weeks too, and I was like,
but here's the thing, like, families who have a nanny have to understand that like someone is not going to be there forever. So like what happened with Molly's was she told them that she was leaving for a better opportunity, like, and they were really upset. I think like they.
Well, at first she was like, I totally get it. It was, we're so happy for you. But when the time came for me to leave, she wasn't able to find a replacement. And having a kid, I get it. It's like you have someone reliable that you have to go to work. So if you don't have someone to watch your kid, like, you can't work. But I had given her 3 weeks. That, like, I mean, that's like, I didn't know what else to do. And I will never forget.
They're like holding the money in
She comes in. It's my last day, and up until my last day, they were so nice about it. It's my last day. She's holding my last like money out, and I go to grab it, and she doesn't let go, and she's like, I can't believe you would do this to us. And I was just like, I'm sorry.
She called me like
she's
crying.
like freaking out on me. And the husband then comes in behind her. And I thought he was going to be like, Vidya, it's like, stop, it's fine. He joins her, and the kid is just standing there watching these two people scream at me for leaving them. And I was like hysterical, in tears, and I'm like, do I leave the money or do I go? I really need the money, but like, this is so terrible. And so I just like kind of like grabbed it, and I like left, and I was so terrified that they were gonna, because I found the family on care.com, and he's like, we're calling all of your references and telling them how terrible you are, and we're gonna write on there that you're the worst ever. And I was just like shocked beyond belief. It was like,
just goes to show that I mean, like, some people, like, it's just like, where does that come from?
At the same time, like, this is like they're in panic mode, but like, it is not okay to treat someone like that. And I was like, up until the last, like, it was like I was like with their kid every single day, and it was just like,
you just
even
don't
that same
do that
day,
to another human being.
Oh my God, it was like, I remember calling Tiffany, and I remember calling you, and I was like hysterical. I was like, they just were so mean. But then I got into full-time HR at Nordstrom, and I loved it, and then I decided to get my master's in HR.
So you lived in Harlem. I would have to go down there, and it was it was tough, but like it wasn't
fine.
too tough. But like, you commuted from
Harlem's fine.
Harlem.
I liked it.
to Westchester
The
to
commute
work?
was hard because so where we lived in Harlem, we lived right down the street from the ABCD line. So I would take that train to Fordham Road. Then I would take the Metro North. I would walk from the train down to the Fordham Road metro station, which was like a decent walk.
Yeah.
Then I would take the metro train, which was like 40 minutes on the express.
Metro North.
Yeah, Metro North. And then 40 minutes on the express. I would get to White Plains where I worked, and then I worked 1 mile from there. I only took a cab like 5 times. I mostly walked the mile to work, and then leaving work, I would walk a mile home. And I did that for 2 years.
What did you learn from sales that helps you, like, sort of, finagle relationships or, like...
Nothing.
Nothing in sales with dealing with people and, trying
No.
to close on a sale or something like that?
No. Because
All right, there
For
goes
me-
that question.
for me, selling clothes, I worked in the BP department starting with, and, like, it was what I wore at the time.
But did
Like,
it ever
it
feel
was
like
just-
a competition with the other people? Like that you couldn't get
Well,
too friendly with someone because ultimately you're trying to
that
compete?
I'm like I was always like a top seller in my department. Because
But you would tell me sometimes that someone stole a
no, yeah. So
sale.
it was like there was these 2 specific girls who like would see a customer and be like, "That's my customer," and I'm like, "You didn't even do anything."
Mm-hmm.
So like it was like this very like, or you put somebody in a fitting room and like, "Oh, I put her in a fitting room, so that's my sale." So it was very much like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to be like quick on your feet to like greet customers and things like that. But I liked, when someone was coming in for something, helping them find an outfit and stuff. But I also like. Fashion's not like my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like
Oh, and that's something that I want to mention too, is that I mentioned earlier on, is something I've noticed is your clothing swag, I guess you would say, from like I think there's like a upstate New York look versus like a city look. And I think you changed your look a little bit once you came to like the Westchester.
I think for a little bit, but I don't think I'm in that anymore.
No.
Like I was wearing very like on trend type stuff.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I would do like the color blocking and like whatever was in, but I think that's more so because of where I worked. So like you kind of wanted to stay up with stuff because then customers are like, "Ooh, I like that. I
Yeah.
want to get that." Whereas like now, I probably dress like a lot older. Like what I wear to work, like I wear
Yeah.
clothes that like look like probably a 50-year-old woman would wear.
Well, you've always gotten, because I mean, like, you take good care of your skin and you're very
Yeah.
conscious of like, health and organic and this and that. Like, you look very young. Like,
No, I know, but especially because in the jobs that I've held over the last like 6 years, I work with a lot of older people
Yeah.
and very senior people
Yeah, who've
and
been around for a
mostly
while.
males. And so I don't want to go in there and like, I'm female, I'm black, I'm young, and what I do in my job, I'm doing a lot of, I work in business HR, so like, I mean, I'm doing a lot of
good
things.
news, bad news.
Yeah, but
everything.
also like, I have a lot of say in a lot of different things, and I don't want to like, I want the way I don't want the way I dress and look at work to make me seem like you could like the first impression.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like the first impression of someone, like, oh, this girl knows nothing. Like I've worked very hard to make sure the way I speak in my job and that it's very professional
Yeah.
and just like articulate things well at work and make sure I know the business I'm supporting and things like that. So I would say when I wear to work, I probably wear clothes that my mother would wear.
Yeah.
Like I
Shout out
don't
to your
dress fashionable at all.
One thing you did in New York
And I don't
City,
care.
that you sort of embraced, which was great on your part, because the Molly I knew in college was, I don't know, maybe more like shy or not, like, not timid or whatever like that, but like, I don't know, I've always felt like I was maybe the more
Yeah.
outgoing person in the relationship, and one thing you did when you lived in New York City was you took like an acting class.
Yeah.
And you put yourself out there, and it's like public speaking, it's getting out in front of an
Yeah.
audience. So like, what was the decision to do that? And what was that like? Because I don't know if people have known, but let me just say
Yeah.
real quick, when I was young, my family put us in the New York Youth Theater, which I felt was great for kids, was to put them in front of other people and
Yeah.
perform. So what was performing like
I definitely want to do that with Nick's too, because I think for me that is something that has significantly helped my career, because I do a lot of speaking in front of people, and big groups of people. Like, I will tell you, I just spoke in front of 800 people. Like, that's not an easy thing to do, and I hated public speaking. I would say I'm more introverted type personality, unless I'm really comfortable. Like, I'm still not even, like,
or angry.
Yeah, but even in general, like, in groups and stuff, I'm still more, like, behind you until I'm comfortable. Yeah. Like, you're
like I said, unless you're angry.
Yeah, no, I know, but in, like, new group settings,
yeah,
like,
no, I know.
You're the one who, like, I'm still, like, very, like, I'm not gonna go up to people I don't know, whereas, like, you'll do that when we go to new places. Like, I'm kind of more
stand back-ish.
Whereas you're, like, I think my personality isn't just, like, I'm, like, a more introverted type personality. I don't remember why I took the acting class. My uncle, first, I don't know, I took a bunch of different ones, but I think the first one I did was improv, which was so good. I don't remember why I did it. But then my uncle set me up with this woman, and I did this, like, I did a bunch of different ones, and then I did one with Dina Levy, who's just this person in New York, and we did a performance, and you and Jed and Tiffany all came and watched, and, like, we did a lot of practicing, and, like, I used to have Libby come over to the house, and my friend Chelsea would come over, and we would, like, practice, like, our scripts and stuff, and it really was just probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had, to put yourself in a very vulnerable position. For people that you're close with, to watch you do this I was like 22 maybe. I don't remember why, but I'm so thankful that I did it. And she
even had her big break. She made it into, like, it was like a New York governor's commercial or something like that. They chose her.
It was a PSA.
Yeah,
they called me, and they're like, I went to NBC and, like, auditioned for it, and then I was casted for it.
It was on, like, local New York. I mean, like, not local. It was on NBC in New York.
Yeah.
And I don't know if do we have that on tape somewhere?
No, I don't think so. I never, like, taped it, but
we might have, like, TiVo'd it, and now TiVo isn't a thing.
It was like, I choose the right to vote, to marry. It was like all these.
They did all these snippets with, like, people.
I remember, like, practicing for the audition with Nia, and
she fits a good gender need in a commercial. Or weren't you in the brochure at Cortland? Like, weren't you in the brochure at Cortland? Like, in one of, like, the
You're probably thinking of Meg.
No, you were in one of the student things, and I think you remember telling me, or Doreen might have been in one.
Yeah, maybe Doreen. I wasn't in it.
Doreen might have been it. But you guys check off a lot of like checklist things on a pamphlet or something. Because
you don't know.
You don't know. It's like, oh, there's a colored girl that goes
like,
here.
We're not sure what she is. I don't know, but I'm so happy I did that, because I used to not be able to speak in front of people at all, but when we would do these acting things and we would perform, and you get out in front of people, and now I'm so much better at public speaking, and I think that was really beneficial. At the time, I wasn't working in HR. I was still selling clothes at Nordstrom, so I don't know why I did it, but I'm happy I did it. I think it was beneficial.
Do you have any managers or like maybe people from the acting class that like you admired or looked up to and thought like that was pretty cool? Because I know the girl Libby that you mentioned, she did like her hobby hoarding thing, which was like, I looked at that and I thought that was genius.
Yeah, so there was a girl in my class, Libby, and she created this...
It was like the hobbyhoarder.com
Instagram, website, Twitter, called The Hobby Hoarder, and each week she would do a different hobby. And so she lived in Brooklyn, and so when you live in the city, like, there's so many different things you can do. So she would pick a different hobby. And so acting was one of the hobbies she picked up. So that's how I met her. She was doing one of her hobbies. But she brought me to her lightsaber hobby. Yeah. So we went, and it was a class where there's people who are so engaged in this, and they go to different competitions, and it's like you get these almost like foam sticks, and you learn different techniques, some fighting people. And when they go to their competitions, they dress up, and it's like very Star Wars-y type theme stuff. But it was really cool, and she did all different kinds of hobbies. So I thought that was really cool. There was also a model, Chelsea, she was from Australia, and she was my acting partner for when we did our performance. And I remember flipping through Cosmo shortly after our performance, and I was like, oh my God, there's Chelsea. Do you remember that?
So.
She was literally in Cosmopolitan magazine, and I was like, whoa. And there was also, I don't remember her name, but it was Josh Hartnett's ex-girlfriend was in my class as well. Really? So I don't know, I met like a lot of different unique people, and it was just another way to also meet people in New York, because actually, I don't know if you remember, but when I first moved to New York, I really didn't have like many friends until I started CrossFit, because I was working in Westchester, and I lived in the city, but I never went out in the city, I never did anything, so it was really nice to meet people who lived in New York, and I would go out for drinks and do different things. So I don't know, it was a really good experience.
Did you have any women that you looked up to as either a young kid or like as you got older that you admired?
Not really.
I think I asked Doreen the same question. Not like Beyonce or anything like that.
I like Beyonce, like if I were to pick a music person, but like also like you know me, I'm like not a music person.
Yeah, but not music.
I'm
but
also
anybody
not
that,
a TV person. Like I'll watch things.
I mean, you like gymnastics. I mean, I feel like some of the women inspire you.
I did
during
love
gymnastics.
like back with like Dominique Dawes and Carrie. I don't remember her last name, Strong.
Yeah.
That women's gymnastics teams, like 1998 or something like that.
Uh-huh.
When I was younger, oh my God, I had so many books on them, because that's when I was really into gymnastics. I remember Dominique Dawes, but I don't remember the other ones' names. The one, Carrie, was the one who like broke her ankle. Do you remember her? She on really. Beam, and she like finished and like on the broken ankle.
No, I don't remember.
I always just loved the different gymnastics people. But yeah, not really.
So you got into HR at Nordstrom's, and you know that's the career path that you've gone down. Now you got your master's degree, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. So just fast forwarding to like where we are now, because we've been chatting for a while, and obviously we could chat about so many more things.
Yeah.
And I'll just maybe do like a little bit of like a speed round or something like that. But you know, we have our daughter Nix, but like, what are some traits that you would want Nix to hopefully see in you?
So I think I love being a working mom. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, there's a lot of people who want to be a stay-at-home mom, which is great, but I don't. Mm-hmm. And I almost feel guilty for feeling that way, because so many people are like, oh my gosh, I have mom guilt because I have to go to work, and that's totally fine. But I will always tell Meg this, because I'll be like, I feel guilty that I don't feel guilty for going to work, because I love Nick so much, but I also love having a career and working, and I think for me to feel fulfilled, like I want to do both. And I think that's the great thing about where we are today, like in society, is that I can do both and still have a great relationship with my child. But most importantly, I want her to see you working and see me working and know that she can, you know, do whatever she wants to do, whether she wants to grow up. And we talked about this the other day, like if she doesn't want to go to college, you know, obviously we'll try to guide her in that way. But if she decides that's not the right path for her, fine, that's not the right path for her. But I think, you know, I grew up, we're going to put out a vlog soon of like stuff we're doing around the house projects, but I grew up watching my mom not only raise a lot of kids, but she worked in the school for a long time, and then she stayed home after my brother. But if we needed things fixed around the house, like my mom fixed it. If we needed something painted, my mom painted. Like my mom did so much for us. She does so much for Corin and I now, and I saw that growing up. And I think that's a lot of the reason why I am today, is like I want to be able to do all those things, and I want Nix to see that like we don't need somebody else to do everything for us, that we can, you know, and as women that we can feel empowered to go out, earn money, earn a living, also do things at home and do whatever we want to do. And so I just hope that she always feels like empowered to do whatever she wants to do.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about your parents in a second, but like what goes into some of the decisions that you make, you know, when you decide to do something? So like you recently decided, you know, keeping everything organic and, you know, eating, you know, right, and organic products, whether it's shampoos or oils and food, and you're very strict on that things. And you know, you did a lot of research into when you converted to Judaism, and those are like bigger discussions, but like, is it just continuing your education and you learn new things and you read new things and you look into it and you find an interest for it?
Yeah. I found this so interesting when I was watching your chat with Max about his kind of wanting to continue to learn about fire and like continuous learning, and I'm very much the same way, and I don't know if it's kind of just the way we grew up with our parents always like, we always had to do work in the summer, like we were always learning. And I'm the same way. I love to read. I love to listen to things.
Do you think it's personal experiences happen to you too? Like, I mean, not that I'm the reason you converted to Judaism, but like I was Jewish, so you did research into it.
Oh yeah. I don't think I would have.
I'm unhealthy, so you want to.
No, I don't think I would have converted to Judaism if it weren't for you. I probably would have went more down a Buddhism path, because my dad introduced both of us to that, and we still have beads, and sometimes we still chant, and I love that as well. And even our rabbi said like the two are very like
similar,
you know, closely related. But I wouldn't have known about it if it weren't for you. But with that, I also went off and read a lot on my own about it. And
I know
my
with
mom
the organic.
my mom grew up in the church, but she also knows a lot about Judaism, because growing up she used to spend, like, she lived at the end of high school with a family who was Jewish.
Oh.
So she knows a lot about Judaism. So anyways, so one reason about different things is because I read a lot. With the food and why I buy stuff organic for Nick's is because I read a lot and follow a lot of accounts, and people can think this is whatever they want, like you do you, I'll do me. But I have just read a lot about, you know, when we were growing up, they weren't spraying food the way they are today and spraying products the way they are today, so they can, you know, mass produce everything. And so like when we used to eat Frosted Flakes, yeah, there's tons of sugar in it, but it wasn't sprayed with like pesticides. So like you're eating food that's literally sprayed with pesticides. And when they look at cancers and things like that, all of these things are cancer causing things. And so like, here's a very real example. A woman I worked with, 31 years old, was diagnosed with cancer in June, passed away 2 weeks ago. Like, 31 years old. Like, healthy girl, you know, I worked with her in HR. And, like, I mean, I'm not saying that's because of what she ate or whatever, but there's so many environmental things and, like, so many health conditions. And even with myself, like, I'm a healthy person and have hypothyroidism now, like just recently diagnosed a couple years ago, and like also with all the fertility issues I have, like I just think that there's other reasons. Like if I've always been like a healthy type person, I've always been active, like the difficulty, the amount of people who have miscarriages, who can't get pregnant, all of those things, like that
I think
used
it's
to
just
not
starting
be a
to
thing.
come into light now
and
too.
I think part of that is the products and what we're putting on our body. And if you, not only the food you eat, but the products that you're putting on your body, like all of those are hormone disruptors. Like this is organic chapstick, and I'm a very firm believer in toothpaste, floss, hair wash, soap, shampoo, lotion, anything that's going on my body. Your skin is your biggest organ, you're rubbing it in. Those chemicals are absorbing into your bloodstream. So it's not only about the food, and I definitely do not eat only organic. I just like
I heard somebody make the point that like everything's natural though. I mean, like it had to get made. Like,
that's not even true. Like things are like made with chemicals.
But chemicals are natural.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's good for you. So rat poison is
no, but everything is like I'm
yeah,
just
but
saying.
it comes from something that doesn't mean it's like good.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I understand.
I don't know. Like I could go on a whole rant, and I mean, there's so much I don't know about it, but I also know, like, to me and just my personal experiences with losing pregnancies and parts of my body and the difficulties to get pregnant, that I think it's related to the things that we put in and on our body. So that's the choice that I've made. And I don't want to be like, and I even think like you put diaper cream on a baby. Okay, that goes in their diaper, why would you put something that's like a steroid cream or, you know, something with like chemicals in it? Like, why wouldn't you know, like, that's just like, seems so strange to me. Like,
No, I
and
agree.
it's like, now even I was showing my mom at the store the other day, Pop-Tarts are coming out with a healthier, like, no food coloring added. Like, why do you even need the food coloring in Pop-Tarts?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you're
like
starting
to make it
see,
prettier.
You're starting to see
Yeah.
the wave of things
Yeah,
changing
like
because
Heinz
people are starting to
Ketchup
get
has
educated
their
on it.
Heinz Ketchup has like their good, better, best. They have their like regular, they have their like Simply Heinz, and then they have their organic. Why not just make the organic?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's.
Yeah, it's more expensive. It's not that much more expensive.
I agree.
like
Can
when
I
you
say
look-
something real quick?
Yes. Sorry,
Take a deep breath.
I get
Take
like
a deep
annoyed
breath.
over this.
I think people are starting. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, I know.
I think people are starting to get more educated on it, and you see it more on the news now because I think your whole wave of girls your age, 30-year-old ish women, have come up in an era where like products were just probably not regulated well, and they were probably just
Yeah.
whether it's like birth control or just all
Yeah.
these certain things that nobody thought that there'd be side effects to them. Now, years later, are starting to come into fruition.
Yeah.
So like whether it's the health industry or like these regulations and federations or whatever are starting to put blockers on things because they're seeing people,
Yeah.
you know, not being able to have babies or like are
Yeah.
highly affected by it. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing now that for our daughter in particular, maybe she'll, you know, come up when she's a teenager and stuff will all be organic.
Yeah.
I think it's a great start. And it's cool that things are moving in that direction. It just sucks that there's a lot of
Yeah.
people now like you who had to, you know, face those
Yeah.
consequences head on, whether it's losing a pregnancy or something like that. So
Mm-hmm.
like it, you know, it's just educating yourself. So if you're a young girl listening or you're a guy or whatever and you got a younger sister, like educate them because it's just like doing reading
But
and
it's
research that
interesting
you've done.
that, like, I mean, there's a lot of people that will say, oh, it's just for these companies to make more money. Like, that's fine if you believe that. I mean, don't come for me in the comments on my beliefs. That's just how I feel. But you can believe whatever you want. But one of the Instagram accounts I love to follow is called Just Ingredients. And it's this woman who does a lot of research on the different ingredients that are in each product, and she has different guides that gives you like, here's a good, better, best version of it, like suggestions for pantry items, like toiletry items, like shampoos and just baby products that are better options. And she also tells you why it's a better option. So, and she does a lot of research and then provides a lot of that back out to her audience. And so if you're interested in getting more information on just like picture form, like very easy, she's a great person to follow. It's just called Just Ingredients.
Or ask Molly. Put it in the
And-
comment section.
Yeah, you can ask me.
She'll have maybe the answer.
I put some articles in when we did a chat on it.
Yeah, check out that chat, organic
Because
versus non-organic.
I did put some, I linked to some articles.
I'll close with just a couple more questions because I know your parents as very strong-minded. You know, like I have learned a lot more about your mom now that she lives with us. I think she's tough as nails. I think she's like the hardest working woman I've ever met in my life. What are some and then to talk about your father, I think he's like one of the wisest guys that I've ever met in my life. He's just super knowledgeable and just very smart and just very educated. What are some values you think you've learned from like your mother and father?
Yeah, so I feel very fortunate to have the parents that I do, because I would say I was a very difficult teenager for a lot of reasons. I definitely did not make it easy on my parents. Odie and I were, and even Max, you know, we were not easy kids. And so they were always they've always just been great. And I would say even just like when I was younger, the way I would treat my mom was just like so bad, you know? And I mean, I think a lot of girls go through that, but you know, they've always been so supportive of all of us. And so I think regardless of what you're going through in life, having parents who support you, no matter what, is so important and I always send you things on things that I see about child development and ways to speak to your child so we can make sure, I mean, obviously you're just doing your parents just do the best they can. But if there's tips and things along the way on how to, you know, instead of telling your kid, no, don't do that all the time, like different ways to say things and whatever. But I think my parents did a great job, and you're right, my mom and my dad, you know, super hard workers, but, and my dad has always just been such a smart guy. And so I just feel very fortunate to be able to, you know, call them, and I always run like everything by my mom, be like, what do you think of this? What do you know? So I don't know, I just feel really lucky to have them as parents and kind of still have their support at this age in my life. And but also, like I said, I've always worked. Like my parents have always taught us that like you have to work for things. Like nothing in life is ever handed to you. Like you have to work hard to get places. And so I think that's a really important lesson to teach your kids. And I've told you this, I tell people in my family this, but like it will be the same for our daughter. Like she will need to work and understand how things work in the world, and you can't just give someone everything. Like you have to be able to be a functioning human.
So just a quick lightning round. What was one of your most favorite cars that you drove as a kid?
My favorite car, the Excursion. So in college I had a black Ford Excursion, which is an 8-passenger gigantic Ford SUV, which they no longer make. And so when my dad sold his dealership, it was one of the cars that he got at the end, and it became my car, and oh my gosh, I loved it so much. And the only reason why I got rid of it is because it, like, the engine was going, and it was just, like, not worth it to fix it. So that was for sure my favorite car.
All right, your favorite sibling?
They're all my favorite at different points in time.
I will say I think you admire Taryn the most. I think I think I see that the biggest, like, I don't know. That's what I see.
Yeah, it's so interesting because each of my siblings have had their own struggles. Like everyone in life, everybody has their own kind of struggles. Like Max talked about his time in college, and I was firsthand witness to that with Max because we lived together at the time. And Doreen, you know, all different things, and, you know, Odie and Taryn and Fred all have their own, and Quincy, you know, going through a lot of stuff now at the age he is.
We'll do a chat with Quincy when he's back, because I think you guys will like him a lot.
Yeah, and he's such a unique individual, like, with his very own personality.
Yeah.
But I don't know, Taryn and I shared a room, like I said, until high school. So from as far back as I can remember, like, from the time I was in diapers until high school. So, you know, there's just a lot of history, and so...
What are you currently reading? Because I know you do book clubs, or like... Well, first, what's a book recommendation, and what's something that you...
I haven't done book club in a while, because it's so hard now that I live here. So right now I'm listening. I haven't physically read a book in a while, because I'm so tired at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Right now I'm reading this book by Lori Gottlieb. It's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, and it's written by a therapist, and it's like... It's actually really good. It talks, like, about different things people come to therapy for, but it's, like, very real things that people are dealing with in their lives, and it gives you different perspectives and things. I read a book a couple of years ago that was written by a therapist called The Defining Decade. Do you remember we listened to that? Mm-hmm. And it's about, like, your 20s, and that was such a good book at the point in my life where I read it, because I was maybe, like, 26. So, but my all-time favorite book is called The Night Circus. I don't remember who it's by, but that is my favorite book. Don't listen to it. You have to read it. I've read it like 4 times, and it's by Erin Morgenstern, I think. Yeah, Erin Morgenstern. It's called The Night Circus. Really good book. Loved it.
Cool. And then, I mean, I'll ask all of our chatties this, but, like, what's next for Molly? Like, what do you see for next? Just for us, for your family?
For us,
Definitely,
you know, to
finish getting our windows fixed.
Yeah, so you'll see in the vlog all the stuff that's happening with our house. We'll do a part 1 and part 2 because it's not going to be done for a while. And it's been going on since, we've been doing house stuff since May. And it's still never ending. But for us to just, you know, it's interesting as you get older, and we didn't talk about like friendships or anything like that, but as you get older, your circle of friends, I mean, you have a lot of friends, and people always say, oh my gosh, Corin has all these friends, but you don't talk to those people every single day. Like, your circle of like everyday friends, it kind of just gets smaller, because the people that you know, are talking to on a daily basis, the ones you first go to when something big in your life happens, that circle just kind of gets smaller. And so,
but it's important to keep relationships. I will send a message to someone if something happens.
Absolutely. It's important to keep those relationships, but I'm just saying that every day. And part of that is because people grow at different paces. And like, so right now you're in the phase, like, you have a daughter, you also have friends who don't have kids, who aren't in that place in life, and it's just kind of like, and maybe that's okay. Like, Kyle doesn't have kids, he's not married, but you guys are still, you know, best friends, and that's totally fine. But sometimes there's people who aren't at that place in life, maybe like an Adam, who you guys are still always good friends, but you don't talk as often because he's out DJing and doing different things. So it's just like where you are in your life. But also, as a couple, you grow at different points in your life, like where you are in your career and what you're doing. And so for me and you, I would say that we, as we continue to grow and change, that you stay connected, because we're always going to continue to grow and like grow as parents and grow as a couple. And so so that would be my goal for us, is to just continue to learn and grow and develop together. And as parents, that we just, you know, enjoy the ride and do the best that we can. And, you know, it goes so fast so far already. So I can only imagine, you know, in a couple of years from now where we'll be as parents, where Nick's will be, but to just enjoy it, because the whole point of life is, like, it's weird. You go to work to earn money, to pay your bills, to do it all again. So it's like, we do try and travel and enjoy and, like, you know, not get so caught up in the day-to-day, but like take a step back and also enjoy
appreciate
life.
Things,
and, and appreciate what we have. I mean, we work hard to be able to have a roof over our head and food on the table, so.
Yeah, that was cool. I mean, like I said, there's a lot more that I could probably ask or fit in. Is there anything else that you feel is important that you want to add in?
I will just say, I was watching your chat with Kyle, and the reason I hate bowling is because I have fat fingers, and my fingers always get stuck.
I have why no bowling here, but I was going to save that for a chat.
No, that's not a long enough chat.
We could talk about hobbies.
No, I don't like bowling because they're not, like, so fat, but, like, my thumb, I have, like, big knuckles. I think because I've always been a knuckle cracker, so, like,
Was it Kyle that said, why don't you like bowling? Bowling
he was just like, who doesn't like bowling? Like,
yeah.
The two of you are like, I don't know why she doesn't. I've told you before, but
you have, but I don't know why. If you've seen me
bowl, like, the ball
But you don't even have to put your hands
stuck.
in the whole way, though, for the ball.
It still gets stuck because the weight I need, the hole, so if I go to, then I have to go to the next one, and it's too big. Like,
we'll talk about it on a chat. We get it. You don't like bowling. You don't have to get into it all
I have to give the reason because you guys called it out. And
your knuckles are too big.
My knuckles are too big.
Okay, we got it.
My hands aren't that big, though. Don't think I have, like, giant, like, werewolf hands.
So that's Molly. Now when you watch In Molly's Mind, you'll have a little background on her, her thoughts, why she thinks a certain way. She's my wife. I love her. She's super educated. She's super smart. I love asking her opinion on things and hearing her thoughts on things because I know in the relationship she's the one who's done the research or who's put a little bit more thought into it than I have. Although I will say sometimes your first instinct, your initial thought is what you should go with, but then there's other times where you need to step back and, you know, make a decision that makes sense. So I appreciate that she does her homework and sometimes I don't. So thanks for doing a chat. I love you. And that was the chat for the week. So hope you enjoyed it. Next week, I won't even say who's going to be on next. But that's it. Peace.